watching Bite Me, and it's me, Nicole. And today, for our first recipe ever on the channel, we have the first thing I ever learned how to make, and it's my mom's pound cake. Now, it's called pound cake because initially the recipe included a pound of the three main ingredients, which was butter, sugar, and of course flour. So today, to start, all we have is 226 grams of butter and 226 grams of sugar, and all we're going to do is cream that. Make sure your butter is at room temperature because when you add the eggs, you don't want your mix to split. So just mix it at medium. So while that's happening, what we have over here is another 226 grams of flour, and it also has about half a teaspoon of baking soda. So you just want to sift it and make sure it gets nice and airy because you're going to use that later. This is one of the easiest recipes you're going to ever make. It's a fail-safe. If you have people coming over suddenly, all you need to do is whip out a pound cake because they're really simple and they always come through. It's like the best friend of cakes that you've never had. So you just mix your butter and your sugar until they are pale and nicely incorporated. And what we're going to do afterwards is add 4 eggs. And you're going to add your eggs one at a time. Except here, I've kind of just whisked them a little bit because I don't want my mix to split when I'm adding the eggs. Just going to put this slightly higher. And you can do this by hand as well. It's not such a complex recipe that you require a mixer. All you need is a nice strong arm and a strong ladle and you're set to go. So my sugar and my butter are almost creamed together. And it doesn't take very long. So all I'm going to start doing is adding some of the egg. So be gentle at this point because you want to make sure that everything mixes. Because if you're going to add it too quickly, it's going to split and you're going to have to take much longer to get it to re-emulsify again. And you add a little bit more. And try and use organic eggs with this because the flavor of the eggs are going to come through. There isn't anything else that's going to mask this except the vanilla. So buy good quality eggs because it's a nice simple cake and you want to taste the richness. And then we're just going to add the last of it. Give that a nice swirl. Once your mixture looks nice and creamy and incorporated, you're going to add your flour and your baking powder. So for this, I'm going to try and not be messy. So I'm going to switch the machine off and just add a little bit of the flour at a time. And don't rush it at this stage because what's going to happen is you're going to add way too much flour at one time and then the whole mixture is going to dry out for a little bit and freak you out. So just go slowly. Pound cakes are great if you have like people coming over, or if you just want to sit by yourself and enjoy a cup of coffee and have a tiny slice of cake. Oh, it's moments like that that I live for. Those are the best moments in time. So your first batch of flours mixed, you're going to add the second one. You can do it while it's rotating if you are that skilled, but I don't want to mess it up, so I'm just going to go slowly. You can use your pound cakes as a base for cupcakes or as a base for like tiered cakes where you want to put like a buttercream filling or a jam filling inside. They're so versatile and easy to make that you can pretty much pretend you know how to do everything with one recipe as long as you get the icings and the decorations right. Okay, so I think I'm going to put the next batch of flour inside. This is going to be a plain vanilla pound cake, but you can also flavor them if you want. For instance, I sometimes do like a chocolate one and a half chocolate and vanilla, or a coffee one. But with the coffee one, what you have to remember is that it's going to dry out a little bit because of the coffee in it, but it's still a really, really good cake. I think we're going to go for gold and put all of the flour in now. We're almost done. Make sure everything's at room temperature when you add it, because what's going to happen is your eggs and your butter will split otherwise. So as long as your eggs and butter are at room temperature, you're fine. There you go, that's the last of the mixing. And next we have just 1 teaspoon of vanilla flavoring. You can add actual vanilla as well, but the vanilla flavoring seems to add that nostalgic childhood taste that we're all so used to. So just go ahead and add that as well. And now we just mix until everything's incorporated. And then at the end, you're going to check with a ladle. Go to the very bottom with the spatula and make sure there's no flour left. So now that your cake batter is all completely mixed and ready, it's going to look like this, light and fluffy because of all the air you've incorporated. What we're going to do next is just put it into a loaf tin, and my loaf tin is 18 by 9. So as long as you have a loaf tin that works that way with that much of volume, it should be fine. Just go ahead and put all of the batter in. Swirl some of it around at the bottom, so you can add the rest. At this point, if you wanted to change it into like a bicolored cake where you have like a pink or a brown with it, like a chocolate, this is where you would add your color or the other flavoring that you wanted to add. After this, we're just going to put the cake into an oven at 180 degrees Celsius, and please make sure your oven is preheated because you don't want your cake to fall flat afterwards. Because look at this lovely fluffy little cloud of batter, and that's just perfect. Okay, so we're just going to try and make it settle. And then we're going to pop it into the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes or until a cake tester comes out clean. So the cake is finally out of the oven and it's a beautiful crusty brown on top. It's just perfect. Now what you want to do is make sure that your cake has cooked completely through with a cake tester or a toothpick. And depending on your oven, it may take up to 25 to 30 minutes to cook. If you feel like it's getting too brown and too tan, just cover it with a piece of foil and let it cook through, and that's fine. After you remove it, make sure you let it sit in its tin and then flip it over onto a cooling rack just like I have. What we're going to do next is take this beautiful cake and put some fancy makeup on it, which is called icing sugar. So we're just going to place that into your serving plate, and then we are going to dust it with some icing sugar. So all you need is a sieve, some icing sugar. Now you could put like a buttercream frosting over this or a tiny lovely slick icing, but I just like icing sugar because it reminds me of my mom and it reminds me of being a kid. And it looks like snow. I mean, how perfect is that? Now imagine this took all of maybe 45 minutes with the mixing as well. So it's an easy cake to bake. If you're new to baking, it's It's an easy cake to bake if you're old with baking. You can go lighter with the sugar. I'm just greedy for the lovely visual of it all. Also, if you want to be slightly more fancy and you happen to have fresh flowers lying around, just cut some off and put them around the plate, just like this. So people really think you're a fancy person at home. Because who doesn't like live with live flowers? Who? That's pretty. I think even boys would like that. I would be very happy if someone gave me a tea cake like this. Next, all we have to do is eat the cake. Not the flowers, make sure no one eats the flowers. So we're going to cut proper slices like a grandmother would cut. Oh, look at that perfect crumb. It's not too dense, it's just dense enough. Ooh, look at that soft beauty. So I'm not going to pretend to be civilized with a fork and stuff because I would never do this alone. The crust is so perfect outside and it's lovely and moist inside, and it's not too heavy even though it is a denser crumb. It's just the perfect kind of pound cake to have. It's easy to make and it's really easy to share because I guarantee this, if you share this with like 2 or 3 people, it's going to be gone in one sitting. Now if you want to keep this, you can keep it in an airtight container on the counter for 2 to 3 days and it will be perfectly fine. In fact, I think it gets better as it goes and will be perfectly enjoyed with a cup of coffee, maybe sitting and looking at the rain, or if you live in Dubai, looking at the lovely sunshine outside. I hope you'll try this recipe. I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I enjoy it, and be sure to like, share and subscribe.